Past Chairman John Olson, as well as past Chairman Ralph Sevenour, have set the stage for the Chamber to take an active part in advancing issues important to our business community. We continue to work closely with our elected officials. I'm happy to state that both of our guests today have been very responsive to the Chamber, and I thank you both for that, as well as for being with us today. I would like to thank Tasso Nikolakopoulos and Kathy Anderson for organizing today's debate, as well as all the members of the Chamber who suggested questions for the candidates. I will now turn over the program to Tasso, who will introduce our honored guests, as well as moderate today's forum. Tasso.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome all. Good morning. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mayor Judith Kennedy and Councilor Tim Phelan. As the chairman recognized, Kathy Anderson will be our official timekeeper today for Northfield Community College. Let's give Kathy a hand. Welcome, candidates. Good morning. I'm sure this is your final debate. It's truly an honor having you this morning. Let's go over some of the rules. Each candidate will open with a 2-minute statement. I will then ask a question of each candidate. They will get 2 minutes each to respond to that question, with the first responder getting an additional 1-minute rebuttal opportunity. We will alternate candidates with each question. The timekeeper will cue each candidate with a 30-second time card, followed by a time over or stop card. Councilor Phelan won the coin toss. You will get the first question. Mayor Kennedy will open up with the opening statements. At this time, we can begin. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's good to see all of you here this morning. This is debate number 7 of 7 for Councilor Phelan and me. We were doing this exact same thing at 8 o'clock last night, so it feels like Groundhog Day in some places. But again, thank you all for coming. My name is Judy Kennedy. I am the incumbent mayor. I took office in January of 2010. When I ran for office, and I still feel this way today, I felt that the most important thing the city of Lynn could do to bolster its business community was to keep the public safe when they were here. That would keep people living here, keep our tax base stable, allow businesses to locate here so that their customers could come in and not be fearful of Lynn. Because let's face it, we had a little bit of an image problem, and we're working really hard to eradicate that. So back in 2009, we had both police department and fire department numbers of uniformed personnel in the 160s. And today, those have been built up to about 190 apiece. We have restored beat cops in the summer downtown. We have bike patrols in every sector of the city. We have SROs, school resource officers, in all of our middle schools. We have Ladder 4 on Broadway open again. It had been closed back in 2008, and the city was running on 2 ladders, which was simply unacceptable. After that, I started a modest plan to build on the economic development. To me, the natural hub of that building was the Lynn Auditorium, and I saw that I'm actually almost out of time, so I'm looking forward to describing to you how I have continued to build up the economy of Lynn throughout this debate, and thank you very much.
I'd like to thank the Chamber for inviting me and hosting today's debate. You know, economic development is one of the most challenging aspects that any city really has, and it's not something that any individual can do alone. It's about collaboration, relationship building, and not afraid to make decisions. You need to really be successful, you need to remove impediments. You have to establish sustainability so that what's already successful and in place, things stay here, so that we're not losing places like the Gulu Gulu Cafe or the Turbine Wine Bar that has come and gone over the past 4 years. It's like a fleeting glimpse of what could have been. What you have to do is you have to create incentives that separate and distinguish the city of Lynn from others, from other cities and municipalities, so that businesses want to come here. I don't mean to any disrespect to anybody in our business development team, but I'm tired of going to PowerPoint presentations that look great and really not seeing much happening. Today, I have a vision. I have a plan, and I'll get into details about my economic plan today, including the Invest Lynn project that will create real incentives to us to expand our commercial tax base, the value of improving our school system, and what that has as an impact on economic development, local business development, and disposable income. I'm not afraid to take risks, I'm not afraid to push the envelope, and I'm not afraid to do things that are politically incorrect if it means improving the city of Lynn. Thank you.
Our first three questions are on economic development and zoning. 2 years ago, the Chamber, local businesses, and EDIC took the initiative to fund 2 economic development studies to obtain necessary data to aid city government to move forward for commercial growth and prosperity. These studies, along with others, over 20 years, all come to a conclusion that our current zoning ordinance, established in 1926, is out of date. Councilor Phelan, what is your plan for economic development, and how does it correlate to the findings of these developmental studies?
Sure. I think the study that you're referring to is the Barry Bluestone project. And it was a good study because what it did is it identified the strengths of the city of Lynn and the weaknesses when it came to economic development. The strengths are the city has lower rent, they have more Class A office space available, which is more desirable, more Class B office space available, which is less desirable. For existing businesses, Barry Bluestone indicated that the permitting process and decisions for site plan review are actually good, but they're weak for actually new businesses coming into the city. What we've done, and I was one of the sponsors of, is we adopted 43D, I believe it is. It's a chapter in the state law that allows expediting permitting for properties on the Lynnway to expedite state permitting process and put an impetus on local permitting process. But we do have to continue to change. The Boston Street corridor right now is still zoned as light industrial. Right now, the Boston Street corridor, we have Johnny Food Master, which is vacant, the Blockbuster Video Building, which is vacant. It's going in the wrong direction. I sent letters to all three, to our community development, inspectional services, and EDIC person asking them their opinion. Last month, I finally got the last letter indicating they think that should be zoned back to general business. That's on the agenda for Tuesday night to do that. We've done certain things. Restaurants should be downtown. They should be able to go in by a right, which they're not able to do now. So we do have to bring our zoning up to speed. It's something I've been in favor of, willing to do as the mayor, and I think it's important to do. Thank you.
Mayor Kenny.
Thank you. I sat in on many of those meetings with not only Professor Bluestone, but Salem State Study as well. Try saying that 3 times fast. I will bring you back to January of 2012 when the new city council was inaugurated. At that time, I asked the council to think big, to take on the zoning ordinance, and to do an overhaul of our zoning ordinance. It is, as the moderator has said, antiquated. It was written in the 1920s, and it's been piecemeal, and it just looks like a patchwork of regulations. It makes it very difficult for any business to come in here. One of the problems we have is, as Councilor Phelan alluded to, in the downtown, a restaurant cannot open without getting a special permit. So Rossetti's restaurant, wait till you see it, I was in for a tour the other day, beautiful, but they couldn't just open up shop. We can't be hindering businesses like that. A few months ago, the city council tried to impose yet another layer of bureaucracy, the site plan review committee. That's the wrong way to go. We need to make it easier to do business in the city of Lynn. We've been trying to use our technology in order to make that easier. A lot of people can renew their permits online now. We recently went to green tax billing, paperless tax billing, which is not only going to save the money, but it's going to make it easier to do business in the city of Lynn. And I can see that my time is just about up. So.
Councilor Phelan, you get 1 minute rebuttal.
Sure. You know, A lot of people want just to arbitrarily just change everything and say that that's going to be a quick fix, and it actually isn't a quick fix for everything. The special permitting process is there for a reason. Everyone knows where the Sir Speedy building was. Anyone has an idea of what we're trying to do downtown, but a business wanted to go into the Sir Speedy, and they wanted to put a laundromat down there, and they needed a special permit to do that. So they came in front of the council, and the council met with a whole bunch of neighbors, people that are owner-occupied in the lofts downtown, and they said, we don't need it, we don't think it's consistent with what we're trying to do. We rejected that through the special permitting process. Now, Ernie's Harvest Time, that was on Boston Street, came down into downtown, an aesthetically beautiful building. They do a great service, and the people downtown is consistent with what we're going to do. They're going to be able to food shop down there, and the council approved that. There's a process for it, and there's a reason for it, and sometimes it works, and that's an example of it working.
Thank you, Councilor Bailey. Mayor Kennedy, are you prepared in your first 100 days to establish a working committee to begin the process of a new comprehensive zone ordinance?
Yes. Yes. Sign up, Tasso.
Councilor Bailey, same question.
Same answer, yes.
Great. Council Phelan, we understand an expedited permitting committee had been formed but has never met. Can you explain to us why?
I formed the committee. I appointed a city councilor to be on that committee. I have requested numerous times for that city councilor to hold meetings. I think he's held one. I can't speak for him, but it was formed by myself for a purpose, to move forward. So I can't speak for that individual, but that individual needs to be accountable to the voters and the people of the city.
Mayor Kennedy?
Well, I think as city council president, you have the power to appoint and the power to remove individuals. And if that committee has been in existence for so long and has only met once and has not produced anything, it would be past time, I think, to replace the individual. Because, as I mentioned, January of 2012, I asked for this process to begin. It's not something that the mayor can begin. It's something that originates in the city council. It's an ordinance, and therefore the ordinance committee should be initiating this. And it hasn't happened yet. It's frustrating as the chief executive officer, and I'm sure it's frustrating to the business people out there, knowing that there are still too many hoops to jump through when you want to open a business, when you want to expand a business, when you want to move a business. And that's not helping the economy of the city of Lynn.
Council Phelan, 1 minute rebuttal.
Sure. Quickly, we're talking two separate things. We're talking zoning and permitting. Your question was on permitting. And what the permitting review process committee was intended to do was actually try to make it easier for businesses, and whatever they may be, to actually get permits, understand the permitting process, and seek input and approval. So it's very different from zoning.
Okay, I'll give you 30 seconds if you'd like to answer that.
Well, they do go hand in hand, however, with the commonality that it's in control of the council. And something as simple as not requiring a special permit for the restaurant. Now, I agree, special permits have a place. There should not be a laundromat next to City Hall in an area that's just starting to really come to life. But I can't understand in an area like downtown why somebody would have to go get a special permit and delay their opening just because they want to open a restaurant. That doesn't make sense to me.
Next question. This is for Mayor Kennedy. There was a recent proposed ordinance for a site plan review, which generally speaking allows the public to have input on a project. This would have required that any commercial or multifamily development to be subjected to a site plan review. The LACC has publicly opposed this. What is your position on site plan review?
I have publicly opposed that as well. And as I said, what we need to be doing is removing the impediments to business development, not creating another impediment to business development. And this, once again, could be handled by an overhaul of the zoning ordinance. If we to allow certain facades, if you to allow a certain size sign, this can all be done under the zoning ordinance and would not have to be subjected to the additional scrutiny of a site plan review. The zoning ordinances work well when they're drafted well, and I'm not saying that ours isn't drafted well, it's just tired and old. It's almost 100 years old now, and it's time to get rid of the layers, make it easy, have the door open for businesses to come into Lynn, and not put up any of these barriers that seem to be erected from time to time. They don't do the business community any good.
Council Phelan.
Sure. I think it's important to get a little history of that proposal. What had happened is, before Charlie Patsios bought the property for the Factory of the Future, he wanted the city council to change the zoning of that particular property so that it would be an incentive for him to actually close on that property, because he had a separate deal with Market Basket. So the city council took the initiative and changed the zoning of that large parcel of land, commonly known as the Factory of the Future. After that happened, our Chief of Inspectional Services had some concerns with some of the neighborhood meetings that we all attended. Because a lot of times when there is a mix between a commercial use and residents that live there. And residents have concerns. When are the trucks going to be delivering, they're going to be 3 or 4 in the morning? How are the dumpsters going to be removed? Those are valid neighborhood concerns. So Inspectional Services put together a potential, not an actual change in the permanent process of the zoning, about this, about what the process should be, and had a limit that things had to go through site plan review. That was proposed and presented. A lot of people had concerns. The Chamber of Commerce, the Lynn Business Partnership. So what the City Council did, instead of moving that forward, we took it off the table. And we sent it back from the council floor to the Ordinance Subcommittee to get input from everybody else. So this is not something that was pushed through. This was a valid, legitimate concern that was brought forward that needed to be addressed and at least discussed. Concerns came up. The City Council, in collaboration, pulled that back. It's in Ordinance Committee now, waiting for discussion and input from the greater community. Mayor Kennedy.
I think there's a simpler way to do it. We can, the truck issue can go to the Traffic Commission. Anything else can be decided by a city ordinance regarding the time of dumpsters, the times of trucks on secondary roads, etc. The site plan review just becomes another hurdle, and I don't like the idea of it.
Thank you. Council Phelan. The City of Lynn continues to fund a contract with Sasaki Associates for a number of studies and plans. Do you consider these studies the vision of the city? If yes, what action will you take to see the vision of these studies realized? If not, please state your vision of the city.
Sure. It's tough to state a vision in 90 seconds or 2 minutes, but I think the Sasaki plans that we have, the Waterfront Master Plan, the Washington Street Gateway plan is just a guideline. It's something that we can follow or not follow. When they first presented it forward, they wanted to put by right 20-story buildings next to on Beacon Chevrolet site. We changed that to 7. But I do have one of the biggest problems, the biggest impediments for a business to come into any municipality is access to capital. They don't have the money to do it. I'm proposing what I'm calling the Invest Lynn project. Right now, the City of Lynn, we take our $266 million, we literally just put it in the bank. What I'm saying is we need that money to work for us. We need to take that money, whoever the depository is, whoever's holding our money, and put it out to bid. Let banks and depositories who make millions of dollars on our money give us something back. So we put that out to bid with conditions upon it. 1, a higher return rate, but 2, anybody that comes in that wants to locate, relocate, or start a new business in the City of Lynn, that they get a substantially lower commercial loan rate. It is a real incentive that will actually attract businesses to the City of Lynn. On top of that, what you do is you put a marketing component in there as well. So if it's the Bank of America, Eastern Bank, somebody will actually go in there and you'll see a commercial loan department. Hey, we got this great idea for the City of Lynn. You can start a business and you'll save so much money. It's a real incentive. It's a real way to make our money to work for us, to bring businesses into the city. It's creative, it's innovative, it's never been done before, it's legal. I've spoken at length with the state treasurer's attorney. It's something that we should do, it's something that we're not doing, and it's something that would be valuable for business development.
Mayor Kennedy, your rebuttal.
Well, just that went a little bit off topic, but it's not like somebody on July 1st hands us $266 million. It's a very complicated process and involves taxes, funding coming in from the state, so the money that we'd be talking about is far less than 266 million. Anyway, hopefully that subject will come up later in the debate. With regard to the Sasaki study, it was never really a plan. It was just an overview of what we have, what road conditions, traffic patterns, and so forth that we have, and how we might best utilize that waterfront. There was, they were really designed to be a facilitator for the public input, and they held 19 public hearings in order to develop that master waterfront plan. And I like the idea that they have. It's a combination of commercial, residential. It shows links between the different parts of the city. Right now, we have the Lynnway pretty much separated from the Washington Street, Gateway, Sagamore Hill area, which in turn is separated from the downtown. So I think it provided a really good map for us to be able to link those, and that is starting to occur. We have the Washington Street Gateway Initiative that is currently underway, and that's calling for, I think it's a 5-story building fronting Washington Street, right where the sandbar is right now. That would have commercial on the first floor, on the ground floor, and then residential above it. The Beacon Chevrolet site would then be linking over to this. We recently did a land swap with the state. It was just finalized about a month ago, which clears the impediments away from developing that Beacon Chevrolet site. So Sasaki, a good place to live, work, and play, and an active waterfront and an active downtown is my vision for the city.
Another part of this question, Mayor Kennedy. Lastly, regarding the vision, what Massachusetts city profile is a good example of what your vision is for Lynn?
I'm going to take two parts. I'm going to mix up Lowell and Quincy, because Lowell came from the background that Lynn has. There's an old mill city. In our case, it was shoe factories. But they were able to revitalize their downtown area by, much the way Lynn is doing, by turning those mill buildings into residential. Lowell is now, I think, 94% occupied, and that's great for the residential component. For the waterfront component, I love Marina Bay and Quincy. I'm going to throw Hingham in here too. Leslie Gould and I took a trip down to the old Hingham shipyard. It's now called the Launch at Hingham, and it's a collection of Bed Bath & Beyond, frozen yogurt shops, a little movie theater, there's a little mini golf course over there. You can take a ferry to access it. You go there's a lot of people. It's a lot of life down at the Launch at Hingham, and it's very similar to Lynn. It's on 141 acres. Now we have about 300 acres of waterfront to develop. It's a little bit more spread out, long and thin, as opposed to their block. But they put together a great public-private partnership in order to get that shipyard transformed into a place that was reused, and not only used in a beneficial manner, but used in a way that brought activity back to the area. And that's so important. It's one thing to have a number of buildings put up on the waterfront. Now, I've been approached with a gasification plant, with a biofuel plant, with an assisted living facility. Okay, so we could develop for development's sake, or we can develop in such a way that it revives that area of the city of Lynn, and I prefer the latter.
Council Field.
Thank you. You know, as I said earlier, I'm tired of hearing comparisons, you know, of what we could go into the PowerPoint presentations. It doesn't make sense to me. We changed the downtown zoning 10 years ago to allow the old shoe factories to be done by right to bring residents downtown. 10 years ago. People started moving in 9 years ago. 9 years. The City Hall Auditorium, which everybody thinks is a huge success, it is. That started October 2006 was the very first show. 8 years we've been doing it. We moved the power lines, I think it was 5 to 6 years ago. What we have in place now isn't working. You know, we have the South Harbor's not developed. Beacon Chevrolet site isn't developed. And the question I get asked to me all the time, how come Lynn isn't like Salem? Salem is happening. Salem's happening. You go to downtown Salem, and people are afraid to say it. I tell it to our development people at City Hall. They get mad at me. Oh, no, don't do that. don't do that, it won't make us look good. But we need to learn from them to see what they're doing that's right. There's pedestrian traffic down there. There's where people aren't afraid to walk into their downtown. You know, that's what I think that we should be the mecca of the North Shore. Because what's in place now from a development standpoint is great visionary, but nobody is coming up with a plan to actually make it happen. It's not working. And that's what we have to do. And that's what I want to bring forward with the Invest Lynn project and bring incentives for businesses to come to the city of Lynn that are real and not just talk.
Mayor
Well,
Kennedy?
I think we can point to the Lynn Auditorium as something that has most definitely brought people into the downtown. Were any of you in the area of City Hall Square last night?
Yes.
Okay, there were 2,200 people in there to go see the Alice Cooper show, which I couldn't go see because I had to go to the debate. But Councilor Phelan is correct. The City Hall Auditorium was renovated in 2006. However, from 2006 to 2009, there were only 2 to 4 ticketed events per year held at the Lynn Auditorium. There are now 12 to 15 ticketed events per year. I hired a professional booking agent. I hired a professional security company. I hired a professional bartending service. And we have been able to transform. We have also have an agreement with Ticketmaster. So one way to put the city on the map is to utilize an asset that's literally right in our midst, right in the middle, literally, of City Hall. I have done that, and I am going to take credit for increasing the role that the Lynn Auditorium plays in Lynn's economy.
Councilor Phelan, I'll give you 30 seconds.
Sure. There are ticketed events and there are other events. There are many events there that are on ticketed events. You know, I was on the city council in 2006 when this happened. The funding came through for this and supported this all the way through. I think any mayor, whether it was me, whether it's anybody in this room, they need to expand it. It's a good thing, it's a positive thing, and I think it's great that this mayor continued to do that. But the real impetus was the change at the very beginning, was to make this a destination. But everybody focuses on that, and what frustrates me is the people that come to Lynn and then leave Lynn. You know, we want people to come to Lynn, to stay in Lynn, to eat in Lynn, to a couple of the restaurants that we do have, but we also want people to come and live in Lynn. We don't want people to visit Lynn. We want people to come and want to stay. And that's what our goal has to shift to. We can't do the same thing over and over again and expect different results.
Thank you. Councilor Phelan, do you think the city of Lynn needs a city planner? If yes, what or how would a city planner function? And if no, what is your strategy for moving the city forward with development?
Sure. You know, I think it's more of a, it's not a yes and no answer. I'm open to the idea, open to the concept of it. One of the frustrating things the questions that I get all the time from business people is, why do we have community development? Why do we have EDIC when they oftentimes seem to be going in different directions where they should be going in the same direction? You know, what we should be looking at is how do we consolidate that so everybody has the same plan and the same vision moving forward. I'm a big, if a city planner came in place, I'm a big advocate of, you know, we talked about public safety earlier. I think it's important to have more police, more fire on the streets. I've always supported that. You know, John Tierney brought the grants in the city of Lynn that actually brought the firefighters from 160 to 190. But the real important thing, if you want to bring crime down, you want to attract people, is one, education at an early level and jobs at the second level. You have to create jobs for people in the city of Lynn so that they're not moving in a direction of crime. And to do that, you have to create incentives. One of the things you've heard about in the past is tax incremental financing agreements, which we've passed and I've sponsored coming through the city council for Kettle Cuisine, Demici's Bakery. But what we have to do is, that's where people put money into their infrastructure, the capital investment, and we give them a tax break on the end. What we also have to do is take that a step further. Take that a step further, and if they mandate that they hire qualified Lynn residents for their jobs when they come in. So if somebody from Marblehead, somebody from Hamilton, and somebody from Lynn is applying for a job, they'll have an incentive to hire the Lynn person with a tax break on the end. That's real, that's substantive, and something that will help the city of Lynn.
The question was about the city planner, right?
Do you think the city needs a city planner?
Okay. If need and want, okay? The city wants a city planner. Right now, the city doesn't need a city planner, and the reason why I say that is $266 million sounds like a lot of money, but when you start to pay the bills, it doesn't go as far as we would like it to. I have other needs in the city of Lynn right now. The DPW definitely needs some more people on the street, and I have stated publicly that that is the next department that I am going to build up. The Information Technology Department in a city of 90,000 people with a couple of thousand employees has two people running our IT department. There are more IT professionals in the school department than there are in the entirety of City Hall. We don't have an IT department head per se, because the way the charter is written, it says that the CFO of the city can come from one of 5 department heads, one of them being IT. But it does not say that the CFO is the IT department head, as it has been misconstrued for 30 years. So that's another need. Planner, I would want. However, right now we do have CD and EDIC that do a substantial amount of work in that area. Also, the Inspectional Services Department, one of the reasons why the head's salary is as high as it is because there is a planning component that is wrapped into that. He is the de facto city planner. So it's fragmented, but we have something going on in the way of planning. And I would just like to close this segment by asking Councilor Phelan to cite an example of where the EDIC and community development have gone off in contradictory directions.
Council Phelan, 1 minute, brother.
Thank you. You talk about IT, not enough IT, but well, I know that, that we have an IT consultant in the city of Lynn that comes to the city council office. But the issue that people bring to me, who do I go to? Do I go to community development? Do I go to EDIC? To me, that's fragmented. They're in separate parts of the building. Do they communicate sometimes? Yeah, they communicate sometimes. The issue would be streamlining and bringing everybody together. Thank you.
It's fitting that we're at the Porthole today, and this next question, it's great. As mayor, would you support it and revisit a 2 a.m. bar closing? If so, under what criteria or conditions?
I have stated publicly a number of times, and I put this in the form of a letter to the License Commission, that I would support a 90-day trial period of returning to a 2 a.m. closing time. It had certain conditions attached to it. For example, it would be for 3 days a week, the weekends only. There were certain safety components built into that proposal, such as the doors had to be closed at 12:30, so we wouldn't have the problem of cars racing here trying to get to last call. If anybody were to leave that building after 12:30, whether it was to go out and get a pair of glasses from their car, to go outside the door and smoke, they're done. The door is closed at 12:30. There were a couple of other conditions on it. I asked that it be done for 90 days, and then at the end of that 90-day period, we evaluate to see whether crime went up during that time period, whether accidents increased during that time period. And the License Commission to this point has not adopted that suggestion. However, I do think it's going to be time to revisit that in the near future. If a casino comes to Suffolk Downs, we may have to rethink this. And Revere has already gone to 2 a.m. I don't know what stops people from racing through Salem to get to Revere for their 2 a.m. closing. But I think the idea of 1 o'clock closing, in my opinion, is a little bit archaic. People work 24/7 these days. We don't have the 9 to 5 jobs that used to be the norm. It's far more differentiated in the world now than it was 30 or 40 years ago. So again, I support it on a trial basis and then analyze the results from that.
Thank you. Councilor Phelan.
I disagree. We had a trial basis for 20 years, and I support the chief of police. The chief of police has undisputed facts and figures how crime has substantially dropped during that time period after the rollback has occurred from 2 o'clock to 1 o'clock. It's undisputable. You know, and until the chief of police is convinced otherwise, I'm gonna stand with him. However, I do think, instead of a 90-day period, what has to happen if we believe that things have changed, first thing we have to do is the city ready for it. You know, and that's a question that has to be answered. I don't think the city is ready for it. But if we do it, what you have to do is you have to do it incrementally. You have to allow, whether it's 5 or 10 bars that have a good track record, and allow them to do it not on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, because that's what they all want, but allow them to do it New Year's Eve, 4th of July, or a particular holiday, and see how it goes. Then you go with those statistics and you sit down with the chief of police and you say, hey, look, this is what happened. It's successful. Do you expand that? Now, it may be a complicated process to how that selection goes into place. You don't want to make you want to make sure that you don't pick on somebody, because the good bars and restaurants shouldn't be penalized by the bad bars and restaurants. And everybody in the city of Lynn wants to support businesses and want people to make money. There's a lot of money to be made there, but that crime statistic can't be ignored. It's a reality, and it has to be addressed. And we talk about crime going down as one of the reasons why.
There are other penalties for bad bars and restaurants, and I worry about picking and choosing businesses and giving some of them an inherent benefit over the other. And I think if we were to do it incrementally, by picking 5 to 10 good bars, you're going to have bar number 11 being very upset that we didn't make it 11 bars and restaurants. So I think the better approach is to let it happen for everybody, and then weed it out as people violate it, and be very firm about that. Secondly, I think it's a bad idea to start on holidays. My father used to call New Year's Eve and St. Patrick's Day amateur night. And I think if you are to open the bars for an extra hour on nights like that, you're actually inviting more problems than you are by opening them just simply on an ordinary weekend.
Council Phelan, 30 seconds. You want to add to that?
I stand with the chief of police.
Thank you. Council Phelan, currently there has been no real development on the waterfront lands, such as the Beacon Chevrolet site, as earlier mentioned, which lies between Seaport Landing and Heritage State Park. Why has this site stayed vacant for so long, and what's your strategy to move development forward?
Sure, Beacon Chevrolet site. There was legislation passed about 10 or 12 years ago that mandated, there was a DCR easement that runs through the Beacon Chevrolet site. The legislation was passed 10 or 12 years ago to remove that DCR easement, that the owner of the property had to actually build a park in downtown Lynn, where the fruit market used to be. The food market used to be across from the item underneath the trestle, where there's the painting on the wall. What they were waiting for was an assessed value to be put on the DCR easement to compare that to the value of what that development would be, and to see if there was going to be an offset over that. However, even though he's marketed that property, he's had difficulty doing it. I have an idea on that property. Right next to it, butting the diagonally across, we have Seaport Marina, the city marina. I don't think we should be in the business of operating a marina. You know, the city council through bonding is putting money back into that to fix it up. We've got some grants through Jamie Marsh and community development, but it's only going to be sustainable until the next 10 years when it gets beat up by all the weather. You know, shouldn't we be in that business? However, trying to sell that to a marina is not possible, because marinas don't make money on renting boat slips. They make money on their upland marine services, on taking boats out, on storing boats, on fixing engines, things like that. What I say we do is go to the owner of the Beacon Chevrolet site and put a plan together so that they can do their upland services on the Beacon Chevrolet site, have a public boardwalk on the walkway, which is mandated by the law, have a restaurant out front, so that they can have a marina that is sold by the city to them. We can have professionals run it. We can have a restaurant that's standing there, give them the upland services, create a vision to be consistent with what we have down with the Lynn Yacht Club and the Volunteer Yacht Club.
Mayor Kennedy.
Well, actually, up until, I think I had alluded to this earlier, but up until a couple of weeks ago, there was a piece of land, a landlocked piece of land within the Beacon Chevrolet site that was owned by the city of Lynn. And in order, it had something to do, honestly, I don't remember exactly what the transaction was that had to take place, but it involved a land swap between the city of Lynn and the state. And that was finalized a couple of weeks ago, and the deed that formalized that transaction just went on record. So whatever impediment there was to developing that site has just recently been cleared, and like I'm saying, in the last a matter of days, not even weeks. Again, it's nice to have a vision for that piece of property. The property is privately owned. In fact, when I talked about somebody wanting to put an assisted living facility on the waterfront, that was one of the proposals, that it was on that site that was proposed. And I thought that was completely counterproductive insofar as we want to be bringing people down to the waterfront. We want to have people utilizing the waterfront. By its very nature, an assisted living facility is housing people whose mobility may be diminishing, who may not be able to get out and enjoy that view, who may not, there wouldn't be any need for a restaurant within an assisted living facility. So I think it is our job to meet with the owners of the property, which I have done, to explain our vision for what we would like to see down there. But we can't compel them as long as they're within their by right zoning laws, and it's moving forward. That's about all I can tell you, is that land has finally been transferred and there are no more impediments to the development of that.
Yeah, that's just inaccurate. The impediment still exists at the state. The DCR easement is running through that property. The city of Lynn is waiting for the state to actually put the assessed value on that easement so that they can do the difference between what that owner is going to have to pay. What we need to do as a city, our development team, the administration has to put pressure on the state through relationship building to make sure that we get that assessed value of the DCR easement, which we do not have. That is the major impediment of that property. You can't sell a property or develop a property if it has an easement going through it. The other parcel was a very small landlocked piece of Lynn-owned property that never prevented it from happening. It may have had a problem with marketability on a certain portion of it, but that was transferred a certain period of time. The major easement still exists, and the city of Lynn needs to do more with the state to remove that to make it a marketable piece of property.
Can I give you 30 seconds?
We have been working with the state.
Thank you. Mayor Kennedy, as mayor, what can you or would you do to move development forward on the waterfront in general?
Well, first of all, we're already starting as a city. The land that the city owns down by the Dunkin' Donuts, it's on Blossom Street Extension, that's being developed. The EDIC actually owns the land where the commuter ferry is going to be launching. We have put over $5 million in grant money toward that, developing that parcel. They have been through all the phases and are now in the final phase, which is going to be to develop that commuter ferry station, for ticketing station, launch station. So that's been one piece of the puzzle. Another piece of the puzzle is we have been meeting. I know a lot of you have heard rumblings about what's going on the South Harbor site. We have been in talks for all of my 4 years in office, and actually there had been talks for a couple of years prior to my being in office with a group of international investors who want to put residential down on the South Harbor site. It's been going in fits and starts, but I can tell you that I most recently met with the developers back in August. They have informed me that they expect to be coming back here in the fall, and right now, as far as they're concerned, that is still on target for moving forward and getting a deal done by early next year. It's frustrating because it does move slowly, but it is moving. I also want to let you know that if there is a casino coming, that complicates matters as well. One of the biggest landowners down in that South Harbor area is also a major stakeholder over at Suffolk Downs. So I don't see any incentive. If I were that gentleman, I would have no incentive to sell or develop my property in that South Harbor area until I knew whether or not a casino was coming over to Suffolk Downs.
Council Bailey.
Thank you. I think it's great that Tom McGee has brought in $5 million worth of grants from the Seaport Advisory Council for the ferry. I think he's done a great job down there. but we as a city have to do things ourselves. Right now, the city of Lynn tows abandoned cars to the waterfront side of the Lynnway. We tow cars down there. What type of incentive is that to businesses to come on down and develop on the Lynnway? I think that needs to stop. I think we have to change that thinking. Tried to do it a couple years ago, unsuccessfully. Also, I get very frustrated, with all due respect to Her Honor, about the South Harbor development site. I talk to the owner of that property probably 3 times a week, and have talked to him 3 times a week for the past year and a half. At a debate 2 weeks ago, Her Honor said that there'll be a shovel in the ground in January. There is not a purchase and sale agreement. There is not a closing date on that property. And the potential people that he's had on the hook for well over 5 years just aren't at the table. He doesn't see it happening. I don't see it happening. The other person that owns the property, everyone knows, is Joe O'Donnell, the other South Harbor development site. You know, to me, what I would be doing now, he's advocating, he's one of the owners of Suffolk Downs and part of the conglomerate over there. I would have him here. I would have him in place and make him part of the process and the application process to be a surrounding community for the Mass State Gaming Commission, so that we can get benefits from being designated as a surrounding community. And that dialogue has to start now. That relationship building has to start now. And if we don't have that relationship building in place, we're going to get caught with our pants down, like we have many other times. We're going to be behind the 8 ball. We're going to be reactive instead of proactive. And that philosophy has to change in the city of Lynn.
I don't recall ever saying there would be a shovel in the ground in January. With a project that big, it would be an impossibility.
Council Phelan, as mayor, what would you do to prepare the city for a potential casino coming to Suffolk Downs?
To prepare the city?
Correct.
Well, this follow-up, continue on what I've just talked about. There are 2 types of communities as designated by state law underneath the Mass Gaming Commission, and there are host communities and surrounding communities. There are actually 3 ways when what's called an RFA2 application goes in by a potential host community, which Suffolk Downs has already done. 1, you can be part of the application process. You can actually be part of the, in the application designated by that applicant as a surrounding community. You don't have to be an abutting community, because you could be a couple of towns away if you're still affected. I think that we should have already had in place an actual negotiating team with the owners of that property, so that we become part of the actual application process itself. If you reach out to the casino and we're not included, you ask them formally. You put something in writing. I've been advocating this for several weeks. Last night, for the first time, I heard that at a debate, well, we have a letter that we just sent in. I'm the city council president, I never knew about it. I talked to our EDIC director this morning on the way here. He says, I have no idea that any type of application letter went in. I don't know if the Chamber of Commerce was brought to the table of that. If you're not part of that process, the 3rd way to get in is you have to appeal the application process once they become a host community, and actually try to force yourself in with the Gaming Commission. You have to get in before the fact to actually be part of the process instead of after the fact. Thank you.
Well, we are part of the process. We did put in our application to be designated a surrounding community. We are working also, not just to sit back and let that happen, a decision up or down, but we also paired with Barry Bluestone. He is the one we mentioned earlier, had done one of the studies along with the Lynn Area Chamber of Commerce, a self-assessment of the city of Lynn. And our working relationship was so great that he decided that he wanted to use Lynn as a living laboratory. So he had a project that he called the Capstone Project. And he took all of his graduate students within that program. And he asked the city of Lynn if we would come up with a problem for that group to work on. And what we wanted to do was to bolster our argument that we would be an affected community if the Suffolk Downs Casino were to be built. So we had them do a traffic study of what was happening on the Lynnway. We had been meeting with a number of North Shore communities and Chip Tuttle from Suffolk Downs Raceway, trying to figure out what the traffic impact would be on the city of Lynn. And somebody came up with a a traffic flow study that stated that 2% of the casino traffic would come through Route 107 or Route 1A on the city, from the city of Lynn, which I thought was preposterous, because at the time, the Oxford, Maine casino had not even been opened. So that meant there would be no casinos between Suffolk Downs and the Canadian border. And yet you had Twin Rivers in Rhode Island, you had Foxwoods and Mohegan Sun down in Connecticut, and this study was saying that the traffic was going to come from the south. It made no sense. So we used our relationship with Barry Bluestone to try to bolster our argument that we are going to be an affected community, and we will be more so than some of the others in this area.
Council Phelan?
Thank you. By statute, right now, there's grant money available through the application fees that are put in by people that, the potential host communities or the people that want to have the bidders to actually study the potential impact right now. And if you are designated a host community, you can negotiate monies with them to mitigate, you know, the impact that it's going to have, or to improve your infrastructure. Is what's going on. It's a dialogue. You know, it's not a letter, but the people of the city of Lynn have to be included in that prior to the process. You know, sending a letter and doing something after the fact is really, I mean, everybody knows how that works. If you're late to the table, you don't get anything. You have to get in on the ground floor.
Mayor Kennedy, the LACC spent a number of months working with city officials to redraft the trash ordinance. Why hasn't a new trash ordinance been passed?
I asked that same question last night. The original trash ordinance that was presented to me from the Lynn City Council was vetoed by me in July of 2011. I vetoed it because it was allowing, it only permitted a 3-bag limit. It talked about having a maximum capacity trash bag of 28 gallons. Challenge any of you to look up Glad, Hefty, whatever your favorite trash bag is, and see if it comes in a 28-gallon size. The smallest one for outdoor use is 30 gallons. So I sent it back explaining that and my other issues with it. The newspaper reported in September of 2011 that the city council would be getting back to work on that trash ordinance. By May of 2012, we had not received one, so I put together a working committee. Ron Mendez, Dave Hughes from the Lynn Area Chamber of Commerce, DPW representatives, ISD representatives. We came up with a draft for the ordinance committee to consider, and that was presented to them in early August of 2012. And I'm still waiting. My phone isn't ringing, so I guess it's not them. But I really think that they have had far too long to either come up with something, trash the, no pun intended, trash the draft ordinance that we had sent up to them and just start anew, or work off of that ordinance and send us something back so that we can continue this dialogue. There has been some talk about the fact that I'm about to sign a contract that will be automating our trash pickup. It's really exciting. We're gonna have those trucks with the arms, and every household in the city, and I believe businesses in the city that currently have trash pickup, will have a 54-gallon toter and a 96-gallon recycling toter. But that cannot be used as an excuse for why it's been 2 years since I vetoed that ordinance and still haven't received another one back.
Council Phelan?
Thank you. First, there is a trash ordinance in place. This was just a modification. The difference is, this is the executive branch of the government, and I'm part of the legislative branch of the government. We have an ordinance committee. The ordinance that was put together by the chairman of the ordinance committee, which I don't sit on, they were very active and aggressive. They actually met with the Chamber of Commerce. They met with the DPW commissioner, and they presented an ordinance that the DPW commissioner and the Chamber of Commerce liked, that they moved forward with that. They were shocked and surprised when it came back and it was vetoed, and then everyone had a difference of opinion. Now this is being reported to me by the chairman. Since then, one of the things that they've pushed from the very beginning is the Ward 3 councilor has been the big, and the Ward 6 councilor have been the biggest proponents of automated trash pickup since before 2011. Since that time period, they have had a number of different meetings. The inspectional services chief has gone to that committee and indicated that the new trash ordinance or the new contract has to work hand in hand with the actual trash ordinance, and nobody from the city, the administration, has come to anybody, and besides what we read in the newspaper, and this is how it's going to work. So there seems to be a communication problem which is consistent between the administration and the City Council Ordinance Committee. But I think that our very first debate in July, and I went back and looked at it the other day, Her Honor indicated the contract is all set, it's in the law department right now, just waiting for my signature. That was in July, so I don't know where that stands right now, but what I do think is, I don't think we should just individually sign that contract. I think we need to expand, and we need to regionalize that contract with a city like Salem. Let's bring our costs down even further. Let's do something, because they use the same major contractor or major contracts, that we can do something with it, with the wave of the future is going on. It's creative, innovative thinking.
Hospital with ongoing emergency services to satisfy the health needs of the resident of the city of Lynn.
Sure. This is something that's very frustrating to me. One is as a city councilor, one is a neighbor up there. Union Hospital has systematically reduced their services over the past several years, from acute bed closures to anesthesia clinic closures to endoscopy to just a wide range of, their heart clinic failure, cardiac rehab is all gone right now. And then we get this announcement. So what do we have to do? We have to look at the reality. Lynn is going to be, if this goes through, the largest city in Massachusetts that doesn't have a full-service hospital. The spin that's being put on is a center for excellence for psychiatric care, behavioral health, and substance abuse. Needed services, but not what we need in the city of Lynn. They say they're going to keep the ER open for urgent care as of now, and if you read what they said, it's very cryptic how they put it. Urgent care is like going to the Swampscott Trauma and Treatment Center for getting stitches or abrasions, things of that nature. But what we have to do is we have to, I'm in the process right now, I started yesterday or the day before, of putting a committee together. It's about 11 to 13 people, and the committee's going to consist of doctors, nurses, Ward 1 residents, elected officials, the people in the health services in the city of Lynn, to force ourselves to get ourselves at the table with the Department of Public Health and to make sure that we keep this open for the future, because again, we're behind the 8 ball, and we shouldn't be behind the 8 ball. We should be before, we should be ahead of this. There are a number of different things that we can do, but that's the start, and we have to do it now. Mayor Kennedy.
I'm staunchly opposed to the plan that was initially put forth by North Shore Medical Center. And once I heard about it, I've had meetings almost daily concerning the future plans for the hospital. I've met with Bob Morton, the CEO of North Shore Medical Center, and Pam Lawrence, the Executive Vice President, at least half a dozen times in the last couple of weeks. The other day, I had Dr. Gary Gottlieb, the CEO of Partners Healthcare, into my office to discuss our concerns about it. And just yesterday afternoon, days are all blending together here, I had Rich Holbrook, the chairman of the Board of Trustees for the Union Hospital, up in my office. We've also started a petition drive. We have made it perfectly clear that the city of Lynn is not going to sit back and accept a designation as a center of excellence for inpatient psychiatric care. And we are not going to lose our emergency department. I can't imagine being a resident of Casco Road, having an ambulance come pick me up because I'm having a heart attack and drive me literally right past 500 Linfield Street to take me up Highland Avenue during the month of October when we have traffic jams all through the city of Salem. So they are quite aware that the city of Lynn is not going to take this. I have a neighborhood meeting scheduled for October 23rd up at North Shore Medical Center. That's for the abutters primarily. We are going to be holding a citywide meeting at a future date that will be led by an independent mediator, so that everybody, moderator I should say, sorry, so that everybody will have an opportunity to express their concern about this. I do believe there's been some movement, and I think the idea of it being strictly urgent care is going to come off the table with the full emergency department restored. We'll see what happens in the upcoming weeks.
Council Phelan.
Thank you. Because of lack of relationships, we were caught with our pants down on this one. The city of Salem If you read the Salem Evening News last week, they're excited about their $170 million new emergency room that's going to be open. Excuse me, $170 million with 72 private beds. The mayor of Salem has already come out publicly and said, I've been working with the Department of Transportation to improve the roadways on 107 going into Salem. But we have to be, you know, a petition drive is nice, you know, but what is that going to do? Everybody knows how to play soccer, everybody knows how to play baseball, but you shouldn't be playing baseball on a soccer field. What we have to do is get in front of the Department of Health. Bob Norton, Dr. Gottlieb, everybody's talking to him, multiple city councilors. What is that going to do? Where can we get our foot in the door? There's a Code of Mass Regulation 105-100.140, and what Bob Norton said at the city council meeting is, well, we're going to have DPH meetings, so they have to go through a determination of need. But determination of needs.
I'll give you 30 seconds, and I'll give you 30 seconds to rebut that if you need.
Okay, the determination of need, which he's presenting to us at the city council meeting in front of 300 people, is for capital expenditures only. So the determination of need, what that public hearing is going to be, is only going to be Salem Hospital, because they're not going to put the substantial capital expenditure into the city of Lynn. So we have to be at that, and if we're not at the table, we have to form a 10 taxpayer group to get publicly at that table. We have to understand the forum that we are. We have to work it politically, from a relationship building, and legally, or we're going to lose it.
Kennedy?
Contrary to what a derogatory flyer recently said about this issue, I am not asleep at the switch. I am right on top of it and will continue to be.
Thank you, candidates. At this time, we're out of time. It concludes our program, our debate. At this time, Mayor Kennedy, you can offer your closing statement.
Okay. Thank you all very much for coming, and thank you to the LACC for hosting this, to the major sponsors, and to Bob Gaudette for another delicious breakfast. There is no one magic big splash that turns the city of Lynn around. If you remember, it probably took 30 years for Lynn to go into decline and to hit bottom, and it's going to take a while for it to come back. But I think we've been making some really good strides during my administration. We've brought in Kettle Cuisine on the Lynnway that brought in 160 jobs. It brought 100,000 additional square feet of manufacturing facilities to the city of Lynn. I was the first mayor since 1991 who actually got GE to move off the stick and sell their property, which is leading the way toward a new market basket. The City Hall Auditorium, although the work I've done to make that a destination is sometimes dismissed as being the natural outgrowth of things, is not the natural outgrowth of things. It's the result of a vision that had people coming in to the city of Lynn as a destination. And it has grown from just beyond that auditorium, as I hoped it would. We have the Blue Walks reporting increases in traffic of up to 20% on auditorium show nights. I spoke with the owner of Rosetti's Restaurant, who told me that he liked the idea of locating his second restaurant in downtown Lynn because he was excited about the crowds coming to the auditorium. We have automated trash collection picking up. We have Demici's Bakery settling downtown, Enzo's Pizzeria. This is a slow process, but it is a progress that is definitely moving and moving in the right direction. And I would like to continue that as your mayor for the next 4 years. Thank you all very much.
Council Phelan.
Thank you. You know, it's natural that people want to focus on the good. I do it in my home raising my kids. But to really move forward, you have to have honest insight with yourself to recognize where your weaknesses are. And all the things, Kettle Cuisine, Demici's Bakery, Rosetti's, you know, all come through the council. They all come through the council. We're supportive of that with tax incremental financing agreements, with, you know, special permits to allow them to go where they're going to go. But for every success, what we have to be cautious of, the White's Laundry site, where nothing's happened. Anthony's Hawthorne that's been vacant for 18 years. Nothing happening on Beacon Chevrolet. Nothing happening on the South Harbor. Boston Street, it was once supposed to be the business corridor of the future. The Blockbuster Video Building, vacant. Johnny's Food Master, vacant. Gulu Gulu Cafe, leaving the city of Lynn. The Turbine Wine Bar, Tello's on the Lynnway, gone. Lynn Lumber, gone. Those are real things. We take one step forward, one step backwards, and we seem to be going planing on a status quo. We have to change that. And we have to change that with innovative thinking. We have to change that with real incentives to try to bring businesses to the city of Lynn that want to stay in the city of Lynn. And you do that, one, with money. And the Invest Lynn project is a good way to do it. The second thing you do with businesses, which I didn't get a chance to talk about, is the school system. The first thing people look for when they're trying to move into a city which creates disposable income and which creates supporting of small businesses, or what's the school system like? And one of the things that I've been proposing for the first time in the city's history is to open up the schools in the summertime for the 3- and 4-year-olds that don't get into the lottery system for the pre-K program, to make it more attractive for people coming to the city. So that we have principals and custodians that actually work in all of our elementary schools in the summertime, but there are no students in there, to allow those kids to go there, to increase people wanting to come into the city of Lynn for a new innovative program when it comes to education. That will help local business development. You have to tie it all together with the creation of jobs, and that's how you do something that's sustainable over a period of time. Thank you.
At this time, this concludes the debate. On behalf of the LACC, I would like to thank all of you for attending, and I especially want to thank both candidates, and I urge you all to vote November 5th. Thank you for coming.